Hey everyone, how are you again today? So last week we had a really, uh, I don't know the words. I mean, I'm short of words, and that's not normal for me. But it was a really, for me, a very engaging. Yeah, that's the word I want to use. Engaging and extremely informative conversation we had with Tolu Ajayi. We didn't plan for it to be a two-parter, Tolu. This wasn't our plan, but there's so much more that we think we want to talk about and share. But just to give you an update, just in case you weren't here last week, I suggest please check it out on YouTube. It's there under Julia Jacks Consulting, so you
Mhm.
can be up to speed, you know. But
Yeah.
Tim told us about the life of the director, how he got into the directing business from the commercial world of directing commercials, producing commercials in the advertising industry. And he's not totally out of that industry either. Yes, he's still doing, yeah, he's keeping his feet wet in both ends. And how being a director is a juggling act, and sometimes it's a gigantic jigsaw puzzle, putting all the pieces together in order
Yes.
to tell a plausible story, a story that you and I would pay money to go watch and be entertained or informed, educated about, you know. Um, it told us about the ecosystem of the entire film world.
That's okay. Should I begin or should I?
Um, I actually don't know what's happened again.
I can hear you.
I
I
can hear
think you're
you.
still recording.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's take it like it was a glitch, you know. I believe it was a glitch. Yes, you know. So he told us about the entire ecosystem, you know, of the film world, and then we were talking about the genreification, and then the issues to look at critically when we're looking at adaptation and other things I have to develop, like being a film critic, writing about film history, studying different directors, actors, their body of work. And as you can see, I'm wearing this series, I'm wearing my creative hat, you know. We went from gray
Yeah,
to pink. Yes.
especially. Yes.
I tell you, one of the things to do that I always had, it was one of my secret desires was to sit on that chair and say action. But now you told me that you know that chair that they put director's chair.
Yeah, I know.
Oh
I
yes,
know.
oh yes, you know. But
I grew up seeing directors holding megaphones and yeah, that's not what I look forward to be honest.
yeah, I get now I see that there's so many other ways of getting what you want. You know,
Yeah.
so many other ways of getting what you want. And you talked about it. It's yeah, it's not a full democracy, but you need to listen to other perspectives. And also it's the importance of psychology in getting the best,
Yes.
you know. So guys, for the rest of the very juicy engagement we had, I will strongly recommend go and look at what we had, Director's Cut Part One. So let's just pick up from the Director's Cut in the reel that you sent us, which we used to promote this program. You know,
Mm.
you talked about the difference between the theatrical cut and the director's cut. Could you talk more about it?
Um, so the theatrical cut is that okay, yeah, the director's cut actually is a director's edit. It's his imagining of the or is imagining of the edit. So the edit, of course, is the assembly of sound, footage, effects, everything all put together. So oftentimes the director's cut is the full, it's the full imagining of everything's done. Um, and the theatrical cut is the shorter version of that. Oftentimes the theatrical cut is the edit that was done with other people. So depending on the kind of deal you have, if you're a director and you worked for, say, a studio or executive producers, the theatrical cut could be their idea of what's a tidier version of the story. Now, and the implication of that is that the directors might get in tight. But so it's a marketing. I think it's a marketing thing. Nowadays, the idea of the director's cut has now become a marketing tool. That okay, so if you got a 90-minute edit or 90 minutes cut of a theatrical film, which is 90 minutes, you will get more because the director is not going to show you scenes that were not that didn't make it. And you're also going to see behind the scenes of other stuff. So when you talk about the director's cut, you're getting it's a that it's just not just the edit, it's also bonus stuff that didn't make it into the theatrical. So yeah, it's for me, I think the word director's cut is now pretty much more of a marketing term. But the reality of it is the director's cut is what the director's full imagining of what the story would have been like. And the theatrical cut is often the one that was cut for it to make time.
Okay.
Right. Yes, for it to be 90 minutes. Because often you overshoot. You shoot for my last feature was 3 hours when we're done, and we had to get it down to 90 minutes. Because the script itself was longer. So I was literally interpreting every scene that existed. I wasn't trying to make it fit. I knew that when I get to post, I have to make some more decisions as to what could go and what could stay.
Well, that can be painful sometimes.
Yes, it is. In television, as a television director, we're a little bit more accurate because the reality of it is that the screenplay is supposed to be a minute per page. Mm-hmm. That's the term. So when you get a proper screenplay that's been well formatted, you should have 1 minute. Every page should be 1 minute. So when 60 minutes, you have 60 pages. Except in the old days before non-linear editing, in the old days everything was tick, 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 tick. You slice it and cut it. But sometimes people write too much. Sometimes we direct too much. We make some much longer. We make it into more of a feast for that, and then we now have to find places to trim. And sometimes less is more, and less most of the time is more.
Yeah, I used to wonder why. Two things I wonder about, but let me share them. With our movies, homegrown, I mean African movies, not just Nigerian movies, you'd see somebody get out of a room, the camera tracks the person walking out of the room, going down the stairs, and then there's always that ubiquitous gate man, and somebody shouts at the gate man. I mean, all of that can be said differently. That's my first observation. My second observation is with thrillers or all those psychological thrillers and horror movies, why does it always happen at night? Because horrible things happen during the day as well.
Yeah.
Why does it always happen at night? And then you have this music like dan, dan, dan,
Yeah.
Why? Is it a lazy way of directing? Just question.
So I'll address it two ways. So for the first question is, as I improve my own education of what filmmaking is and the story. So you can have those long pauses. So in early Nollywood, a lot of stuff was made to fill time. Yeah. Like a guy starting his car, reversing 4 times before he goes out of the compound, and they make us watch it all. And the way it's often filmed, some of that stuff was meant to be edited. Mm-hmm. We're not supposed to see, a 3-point parking or reverse. It was supposed to be cut because if they intended for it to be a part and element of the story, You could have made, have been cut to him being angry as shifting the engine, turning the steering wheel. It could be a part of the character storytelling. So because they knew they had to fill time, every minute mattered. So they would extend things that didn't need to be extended. And the audience, not really complaining, made it.
Well, we complained. We didn't know who to complain to.
Yes. So okay. So I think the word is, if there was no way to be able to engage the people distributing the material. Now that you have social media, they know.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
People come out on social media and I say, we hear what you said about the movie, or they are in the comments section talking to the people, and that's learning things. So that would be the first one. That was done, and it's not meant to be done. This for the second. Thrillers, even in most horror films are now done in daytime because seeing an apparition in daytime is way more scary than it is at night. However, our primal instinct, night is a scarier time because of what we can't see. Primarily, it is the time of the boogeyman. It's a time where things that shouldn't be there are there. So whilst it is it's a stereotype and then or an archetype of storytelling, the night has always been for man a scary time. It's a time for either invasion. That's the time villages are invaded. That's the time the enemy will pick. Because our vision is limited, then things are just larger. So a daytime thriller or horror film is equally scary. And it's about how you set the mood and the tone for it. So what could the problem be? I think some of the problems could be, firstly, in the place of the writing. In that the writer just said, oh, I have to write this scene to happen at night. A lot of this stuff happens at writing stage. If a director is hired on a script that's already been sort of approved, he just shoots it at night. He doesn't have a choice. If you're in a factory, if you have a production system that's a factory mode where everything is just come on board, we need to direct this, and all he's doing is creating shortlists. Oh, we're going to start here, go here, go here. The actor is approved by him. If you're in a more production style system where you don't really have choices to make or decisions to actually take, you just be shooting what's on the script. And every script you see, okay, your job then isn't so much creative, but to ensure that the ship makes it to the port on time. There isn't any time to say, hey guys, let's see where we can change things, and that's going to change production schedule. And schedules mean money, because time is money. But if you say we're going to shoot this thing in 5 days, often those kind of things are 4 or 5 day, unfortunately 7-day schedules for one film, and they're intense. They're very, very intense to do. So you're not likely to be able to veer off the beaten path on that, or to add much value, except you're so experienced, you know how to flip stuff on a dime to make it more meaningful. Or you have so much experience, you can say, you know what, take out this, I have a better way of making it longer, and I will use the same time, the same resources you have, and I can make that moment more meaningful than having the guy reverse 3 or 4 times, or have this scene done in daytime and nighttime. I can find a way to make it impactful. And if you can convince, then you have to now convince the producers to do it your way. That's where all that is coming to play. Like, how dare he say to us, where did he start? You now start having other conversations.
See, that takes me to 2 things. I want to talk about one of the scariest movies I ever watched, and that was The Silence of the Lambs. And that was really scary. And it wasn't all nighttime. Just having, what was that guy's name? Oh my goodness, I forget his name.
Anthony Hopkins?
Yes, Anthony Hopkins. and the actress
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster. The interaction between them was intense. It was scary. It was scary. It was scary. And I'm just thinking that maybe that's part of where we need to go to next, because as we rounded off the other part one of this conversation, and isn't it interesting that we're doing part one, part two in the film industry because
to God be the glory.
to God be the glory. Yes, yes, yes. And one thing I noticed is that you said that more money is coming. People are coming in. We have Netflix, we have Amazon, we have you said Paramount just came in, so the options are coming in. The I believe our movies are getting, in terms of production values, camera angles, etc.
Yes.
Really, 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 really great. Now, in terms of storytelling and getting typecasts or stereotypes, now this is my big thing, and it might be more with the TV series than with the movies. A character doesn't grow, but people grow. Things happen to people and they grow. They become someone else. So someone who starts off being a buffoon.
Yeah, it's a lovable buffoon.
Somebody who starts off being angry, continues being angry. We have the evil stepmothers, mothers-in-law. We have the rambunctious men. We have the victim women. And I'm getting really, really tired of those stereotypes. And I find out that when those stereotypes are flipped, when we tell different stories, it's usually someone has commissioned it. There's a grant behind it.
Yes.
Then we can tell real life stories. Now, do you think with the inflow of new people, new funding channels into Nollywood, into our space, do you think we're going to have different kinds of movies? What is it? If you look into your crystal ball, what do you think?
Well, for me, so one of the things I discovered when I got into Hollywood a long time ago, I decided to start applying the same marketing, what I knew about marketing. There are two different markets. If you're making something, if I'm making something for something I know is going to go on a streamer, there's a process. This process is different than when I make something for a local market. So our local market has something it wants, which is escapism. And whilst I don't believe in stereotypes, I don't think I've tried to make anything stereotypical. But when I look at what people are paying money for, the most successful films this year have been coming, and they're by female producers, and they're mostly of the same kind of capers. Like they're the genre of capers of the soft like skits, but long form skits with the hero, I'll take you on a sort of hero's journey. And they're the most successful. The ladies themselves are totems.
Commercially,
yes. Because I divorce yourself from your market, what the typical audience wants is, I've had a really stressful day. Entertain me away from my current challenge, or entertain the girl I'm dating, right? Into a sense of she had a good time, so she can give me a good time, And I don't mean it in that way, but you want her to say, "Oh, thank you, my love. We had a great time tonight." Proposal, decent, very decent, whichever one. And because the reality of it is that the market is driven mostly by women, in certain ways. A lot of the films are mostly driven by women. So
how do you mean driven by
like
women? Do you mean women are the producers?
Yes. If you look at if you like this is sometimes when I hear there's a balance about that. I'm like, there's no gap in film. Women are even triple threats. The writers, producers, directors. There's it's the one place I believe is completely there's a gender balance. You understand? That people have hired me to work for are women. So there are way more. The best, most successful producers currently in Nollywood, the top two money makers are women. So there is something to be said about that. That we have to dig deep into that. At least over the period from the individual time of the traders to this version of it. There's certainly way more. There's a lot of quote unquote representation in there, even though I've always believed that it always has been. So there are two differences. I think our film, because this idea was implanted in me when I was talking to the then German chancellor. I was at a film, at a film premiere. And one of the things he said to me was, so he asked me about my film, he spoke, and he says that Nigeria has a very strong literary representation globally. That they've read so and so's books, and while he's on the plane, people are buying tons of African novelists, African literature. This was in 2016, that I had this conversation. He says, why is Nollywood? But when you look at the films, aren't so much at the same level. That was his critique, and his critique was actually, and he says, why are the films not like the books? And I know exactly what he was talking about, because there's so many targets he hits with that general statement.
Yeah.
So it means foundationally the writing, the construction of the story. That's one way he's talking about it. The way the marketing of it is done. If you see a Chimamanda Adichie novel, paperback, and you're in your Barnes and Noble, and you pick it, you're going to get a certain quality. There's no, you don't have to check it. And I think that's where in the creation, and now we formulate stories, we will need to start to do both. And perhaps also too, maybe there's a place for the escapist stuff, because Nigeria is a tough country to be in. I would imagine if it's 32 degrees and you're in the bus and you have your phone, you don't want some deep story that's going to be taking through trauma.
True.
You want something that will take your mind off. And you're in the bus, you have your headphones on. You want something light, something that gives you something to look forward to in life. That somebody's going to come and sweep you off on his chariots and take you away somewhere.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, imagine. Just imagine, because one of the things I do a lot is I people watch. Even when I'm driving, I look into buses, because I used to be on the guy on the bus. And I'll look into buses and I'll be like, what are people? And I see a lot of people looking at stuff on their phones.
Yeah.
And I imagine that, okay, this is taking their mind away from the discomfort they're probably in right now.
Sure. Tolu, you talked about genreification, and I believe surely there has to be a place for the different genres, because whether we are in a bus or we're in our homes or whatever, we're experiencing trauma. You understand?
I was going to go there, but I'm glad you just said the segue is much better. That's exactly what I was going to talk about next.
Yeah. Because I'll tell you what I remember. I remember people like Lola Fani Kayode with that series,
Yes.
Mindbend.
Yes. Yes.
That was not
She's a
an
G.
easy. That was a tough movie. Oh, sorry, series. It did not
Yes.
sugarcoat anything. It did not sugarcoat anything at all. I mean, I know Amaka Igwe did some comedy, but she also did some tough movies as well. And I also know Kemi Adetiba did King of Boys. That was not a
Yes.
comedy by any stretch of imagination. It was not
No,
escapist.
I'm not making.
So
I'm
how do
not
we
making.
blend the genre so that what people see, like we see in Hollywood, there are those people like there's some actors, you know, okay, this one, once you see okay, this is the actor, you say, okay, it's likely to be this kind of movie. This is another actor, or this is a director. You say it's likely to be that. Sometimes they surprise us. Like we were talking before we got on online. We were talking about was it Robert De Niro or was it Al Pacino? I don't know. They always act that there's a very dark, you know,
Yes.
threatening movies, and then
Yes. 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 Yes.
recently, I think it's De Niro, yeah.
It's, you
And
know,
recently, he's been doing
comedies.
more of the comedies. So yeah, so he's grown as a brand, and maybe he's gotten to that point where he's not threatening anymore. He looks more like a grandpa now.
It's a grandpa.
Yeah,
The grandfather.
yeah, but he could
And what?
be. Anthony Hopkins is a grandpa, but he's as menacing as hell. You know, he looks as menacing as anything.
There's a financial reason for Robert De Niro jumping on a lot of these movies. I think he's asking some tax issues or something in the background. But Robert De Niro, Anthony Hopkins, I think they're two different OGs in the game. Anthony Hopkins haven't had a strong theatrical space, and Robert De Niro, even though he's a really strong actor, just deciding that levity works for him because you can always throw the script out if you don't want it. But I understand what you're saying because I'm going to segue into genreification.
Okay.
And it's not actually the producer's choice. I think a large part of the structuring of movies, and that comes from me from marketing, from the place of the marketing research and all that. It's there are several slots films should be in. Your film is coming out in February. Oh, Valentine's Day. It's going to be a romantic comedy of some kind. So you plan for it. You want something that's a big spectacle. You're looking at the summer holidays because you know you also want to take the children there, and they drive. They will be on holidays. They won't be in secondary school. They are a demographic as well that need entertainment.
Big demographic.
Big demographic. They're going to take it away from us. So the idea of genreification is very important. And there's Christmas. There's a Christmas film. Last time we should also aim for everybody's going to be at home, and daddy may want to take everyone to the cinema. When the wedding party came out, I recall I was in an elevator. My daughter and I were going to watch a Disney film. It was Moana or something. I can't remember. And there's this
I watched Moana like 100 times.
Yes, yeah. So she wanted to see it. She was much younger then. But there's this gaggle of women in their late 40s to early to mid 50s. They just came into the elevator with us. And they all said, oh, what are you going to do? So they asked me, I said, we're going to go watch Disney movies. So that's what I said. So I asked them, what are you going to watch? The wedding party. So they all want to see it because so I asked them why. I was always curious. I said, no, it's a movie they know. It's something that they go for every weekend.
Familiar though.
And one of them said it was good. So that one person I said was good. They're all old girls from the same secondary school. So they all said, let's make this an event for all of us to go to. And that specifically is one of the things I always talk about, genreification. The two successful producers I told you about, when they talk about their movies, they have a marketing style. Their movies are Southwest. They're using the traditional pillars of Nigerian Nollywood genreification, Yoruba film, Igbo film. So their marketing is based across everyone of their ethnicity that knows what they stand for. Comedic capers, right? So they know that they are going to make money that way. She's not going to make money being, doing I don't know, I'm looking for
A psychological thriller.
a psychological thriller. It's not going to work for her to do, even though she wants to do stuff with Rage. Now, what's also important is that the studios that commission filmmakers, because the studios are commission filmmakers, they also need to start to slowly show the difference of, oh, there's going to be this is a thriller. You're beginning to see more of that these days as well. And in the marketing of it, it's being done, and the more this is is marketed, and the film creators too are selling it for what it is. There's a film coming out called Gangs of Lagos. I think it's about to be out.
I think I've read about it. Yes, yes.
Yeah. It's also a female filmmaker. I've worked with her before. She used to run Danny, Jade Oshiberi. Super brilliant, and she's now, she does, our films are often high spectacle films. They're super entertaining. It's a mix of some of the locals too, but it's now dished in served in an environment where there's an AC, and you're not hearing generators in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some element. There's a way she ideates her stories in that they remind me of certain novels. So I want to, and I know I like it to get it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a little of they're like certain novels. So there's literary value, but they're meant to be consumed and enjoyed by as many people as possible.
It's a sip, right?
Yes.
It's a sip. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So yeah. So that's the way I see sort of what kind of works generally for a large population. It has to be really well organized, and that if now the film I made, my film is very if I want to tease myself, it's a psychological study into a man who is not, who all is not well with, and I went in on that. Like, it's a social film. Staying is, I recall there's a scene we shot in the movie where it was supposed to be a party scene. People are supposed to be dancing to Fuji music or someone's funeral, but someone had passed away, and an old person. And it was suggested to me that it should be, because everybody did that should be, everybody wanted to be gay, to be full of, and I didn't shoot it that way. I made it that even in the middle of everybody having a good time, this dude is knocking back drinks, just depressed, right? Because I wanted the point of view of the film to be from somebody who's going through it, So I'm not giving that sub to the audience, because I want you to still stay in what that film is about. I remember the producer was having a conversation with me, because the producer also wrote it, and there was this idea that it would be flashing lights and all that. All of that is present, but my lens was focused on someone who was going through it, and that even in this, he couldn't solve his problem. So those are the kind of ways we look at it, and it's also from understanding what the literary appeal of some of these things. That understanding comes from that place as well.
Okay, well, I guess we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves. The industry, although storytelling is not new in Nigeria, in Africa, but commercial storytelling is relatively new. But I just think that we need the different layers, and we'd appreciate the different layers. And I just keep thinking about series, and this is not to say I have a Western focus. I do not have a Western focus, but I like things that grab me. I like things that are not easily obvious. And then a series like this, I'm sure
these are
have you watched This Is Us? I think they've ended. This Is Us.
You know the weird thing, I've only seen clips of it. I've never actually watched it. So most of the time when I'm busy, I'm sort of in a tunnel. I don't watch as much stuff as I should, but I know it. I know of it. I know the phenomenon it is. It's super dramatic. It's very heavy.
Super, and still entertaining. And then you can see yourself in the characters. But I guess that's fine. That's fine. As long as we keep talking about it, as long as other parts of that ecosystem, that value chain, come on stream, I'm sure we will start making a whole different slew of movies in addition to what we're doing right now. So Nollywood doesn't get known for one thing. It gets known like for Hollywood, it gets known for different things, like the films.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
So, as I said, that there are two different markets. If you're making a film for Nigerians, you have to know the amount of Nigerians that will make sure your film is profitable.
True.
So that's why I'm saying yes. So you have to know if you're going to make a film for Nigerians, what do people want in Nigeria? So even if you want to be literary or be thematic, right, you sort of have to do it so that the audience, oh, that film was deep and it was still fun. Because the cost of theater is you have to spend at least 12, sometimes 15K if you're going with somebody. Popcorn is expensive, right? So the theatrical experience,
yeah,
you have to give some people something that would say, oh yeah, that film was worth watching in the cinema. Not some the younger people will either better pirate it or wait till it comes out on Netflix. And if you want to make your money back, it has to be something that they can't get anywhere else but in the cinema. And the cinema is expensive now. Now, the films that are often the better films that you often talk about that are not readily available, but they're likely to see more on the streamers. Really, really good movies, milk-made, crafted movies, films that you see craft in. I'll say a film like The Milkmaid, I'll say Imofe, and I'd say I haven't seen some of the other ones. Some of them are a little dark, but so I'm not going to go. But they just you see an element of craft of someone who knows what he's doing with all the things he has in him. I remember there's a word I was looking for in the last session called mise en scène, and which is all the elements arranged before the camera.
Okay.
And when you see kind of like, this guy, I've learned so much just by watching this. But that's often for work that's been presented outward. So there are actually different kinds of filmmakers. Nigeria is at a great time where you have people that can make commercial film and they also can make award-winning stuff. This year was particularly very good for people winning awards at foreign film festivals with local work. It's when you want to now make that distinction, if someone is making something that's supposed to be literary work, then you think that maybe this is an opinion, this is actually an opinion. But if you're making something that is supposed to be literary, stay in the literary zone.
Okay.
Add some elements of, people will say 5G, enjoyment, so that the audience is not bored, but it must come. So they're not really like handling. And I think that's when people watch work and they're expecting very high standards from, and it falls. It's often because you didn't respect the genre it was supposed to be in, and they're like, why can't Nigerians make good work? It's because they try to probably make it a lot more accessible when, and it wasn't meant to be accessible like that,
Yeah, but we all know that there are people like, okay, if there's a movie with let's use I don't want to use any Nigerian or African movie or actor or director, so I do not offend anybody, But let's say sorry?
This is a young market, so people are still growing.
Yeah. A Meryl Streep movie, I would expect it to be very serious. I mean, she surprised us with a few.
Mamma Mia and Devil Wears Prada.
Yes. but I expect a certain gravitas in the Meryl Streep movie. A Woody Allen movie, that's a director, you know. I expect not to understand it, but I probably pretend to understand it. You know what I mean? And that guy that directed the Francis Ford Coppola.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Quentin Tarantino, I just expect it to be film noir. There's violence from the beginning.
A lot of talking.
Yes. A lot of talking, a lot of violence. Yes.
Violence.
Yes. A lot of violence.
So So it's director. So so this is the thing though. I don't think very few directors have the ability to make a film theirs. So a lot of the films I've seen of certain directors don't really represent the full scope of that director's voice. That's why Ken Aditiba's film, the first one, was really her voice. She was trying to make a genre gangster film, but with a female lead. So it's basically a Lagosian godfather, or godmother, or wants sticking in those roles. So that's where it starts from. And since she's made that film, there have been so many urban gangster films. Urban gangster films are currently the reigning genre over the past 3 years. The Gangs of Lagos is going to be yet another one, and there have been, the touts are now they're now on the podium, telling their stories, basically.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that's
but it's the truth. But that's the truth. I'm not even being sarcastic. It's literally
it just tickled my funny bone. I tell you.
People are okay. Oh, I want a street grimy, gritty story. Okay, it starts with this guy that was in the ghetto. He had this dream, but he couldn't make it, and he's going to go all the way to the top, and he's going to make something of himself, but through criminal activities.
But if only they knew that there's a lot of gritty criminal stuff happening behind white collars, eh? Yeah. But yeah, I think the more we talk about it, the more we will diversify. Yeah.
I want to draw an addiction story of an executive. I find that really, really fascinating. I've always loved them. Behind the pious, upstanding, but and there's a lot of that over the bridge. Because I'm a child of the 90s. I was around the financial institution people then. So I in fact, I did a lot. I saw a lot of people who I was like, at night it was different. It was very Wall Street like. People like indulging, and I think it will be very interesting to take people behind the scenes of sepulchres, of painted sepulchres.
Yeah, it would
that would be very interesting.
It would be. It would be. I think that would be very familiar to many of us as well. To many,
Yeah. So again, the market. It's the market. People are paying for it.
Yes. So let's move to the now. I know I watched the film Avatar Part 1. Oh goodness, maybe about 10 years ago. Maybe not up to 10 years ago, but I know it was many years ago. I know there's a Part 2 now. I don't know if that's a sequel or the prequel.
It is. I've seen both in the cinema.
Okay, you've seen both. Okay, right. And how do you direct movies like that? How do you direct movies? Now we're looking at a new convergence. There's AI, there's animation, there's anime, there's gaming. How do you direct those things?
There's some skill sets. The directors are good to take the skill sets they have. I don't want to call it manipulating the emotional experience of the audience, but that's what it is. But it's well, I don't want it's not it's manipulation to a certain extent, but it's also taking people to emotional moments, right? That's another way to put it. And you're going to take that skill set because what people want from the visual theatrical experience, whether it's in their glasses or in the future, an implant that's wired to your central cortex, is an experience because we're wired for stories. We need stories. That's the human being needs to see a cave, from cave painting to us sitting around the fire. Stories are a way we understand things, understand life.
Yeah.
So you take that ability, the ability to understand cadence, where the story begins, the middle of the story, and where the story now starts to break down into understanding what the whole experience is. The rest of it now becomes technology and technical. So Avatar, for instance, James Cameron is a genius, as in Aladdin has transcended directing, in my opinion, because he invents things to make those films happen.
Mm.
Whenever he's doing those heavy films, he will invent stuff. He will do something nobody has done before. When he did The Abyss, he invented a 3D system where I've made water translucent.
Wow.
When he made Avatar, he created a system in which the actors were playing, he got real people to wear motion capture suits. And he could capture the experience and transpose all the physical attributes of those into 7-foot cat people in Avatar. And he made them real. Typically, animation has what they call the uncanny valley. That doesn't just, you can't, when you look at it, this is not real. This is, I'm not so sure. This is trying to be human, but it's somehow revolting me. It's a little bit of, you don't cross over the line. I know it's trying to be human, but it's not satisfying my emotion, my empathetic want. So that's uncanny valley. And when you watch Avatar, you empathize with these people. When they were burning and they were crying, you too felt like crying. So he was able to use technology to get us into the emotional mind state of the story. Now in gaming too has become storytelling. Your quests are part of the hero's journey. And a director then will now need to have skills to be able to model, sculpt a character, create enough challenges for him, and work through it, which is interesting. He's a director friend of mine who is a 3D aficionado. He's making a film about Yoruba deity. And from what I'm hearing, is Shango. He's doing a film on Shango. And I hear, he's in conversation with, he might turn it again. And it's a big deal. It's a really, really big deal because literally every other thing has become a game. Every other, and to have that kind of representation, that's what is used a lot these days. But to have that kind of representation, I think it's so significant. So, but I've seen clips of the films. He shared some YouTube clips of the film with me. It's really well made. And I was quite, I was like, oh yeah, this is good content. It's going to be out there. AI is sort of pretty much the same thing, but it's simpler because I've tried with AI. Even though I can say that I've been fighting about it. It requires, the entry into making AI art or video is very, very low. You just type in a couple of words, and it creates it for you. So that tells you that there's going to be way more content that's just low. Then when the artists get into it, so people that really knows that really is gifted with the skills of craft, of understanding human psychology and great storytelling. Maybe when it gets into AI art and AI video, and it says the same, has its own set of words, prompts like they use, and you set that into the machine will make something that separates itself from the stuff everybody else is making. And it might be a better experience that some people actually pay for, even though everybody can do it. It was like the era of camcorders when everybody had a camcorder and they were all shooting small camcorders. Everybody was shooting their kids, their nephews, and you had tons of garbage content. But when someone that really knew what he was doing was handling that same camcorder, he was able to win awards and go to Cannes and do a lot of things. I think that's what he was going to. It's going to be storytelling. At the end of the day, is that skill set of understanding how to tell a story, how to present the story, and how to make the audience feel something. You know, I think that's going to be the crucial carryover skill, because James Cameron knows how to do that. With this new Avatar, there's some of the stories were the same, but he did something. What he did this that made the film 10 times better. He improved the technology so much. We're seeing a new. It was that same planet, but like the 5.0 version, the images were so vivid. It was clean. I mean, we were underwater this time around, and we were swimming with the version of whales, and it was beautiful, and it was so resonant. It was worth your theater, because I've never seen anything like that before. Never. I've never seen anything like that before. I've never seen anything like that before. Even though the story beats this time were still, because he rehashed them. Some things were new, but in terms of the world he built, never been seen like that.
Completely different world.
Yeah.
So essentially, technology can be the story and it can enhance the story, right?
Yes. Yes. Everybody's going to be doing this now. The way what these people want. What's going to be important is not the tool. It's like social media has now made institutions irrelevant. So advertising, for instance, is still struggling with. Facebook wants to destroy, decimate advertising globally because they want everyone to advertise through them, because they have all the tools now of the role the agency used to fulfill. And now they're making everyone a producer. Anyone with a phone can produce.
I kind of agree and I kind of disagree.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of agree and disagree. I believe there's a threat where I think there's more to be embraced. The more you run away from something. I mean, I had read this somewhere and I had shared it. It said, the buffaloes are ready to see storm clouds gathering. They don't run away. They run towards the storm clouds because that's the fastest way to get to it, right? That's the fastest way to get to it. And the more we say, skit makers, these people are taking our audience, you need to step back and say, okay, so what can I learn from this? What can I learn? What can I mean, if you had, for instance, Woody Allen creating a commercial, because it's built a brand.
Yeah.
You would want to probably read more into that commercial than would be there, because the brand values are there. Because the man himself, you're just saying, oh no, maybe it's I that didn't get it. You know, even if it's a crap, I'm not saying he'd do anything crap, but even if it was a crap commercial or a very obvious commercial, you just say, okay, there's a twist in this tale and I don't get it. You know, so I think the issue, we're now coming into the business of the business, and part of it is the branding. Because some of these people, I used to read a lot of Vanity Fair when I was growing. Well, yeah, a young adult and adults. I really liked to read anything that had, even People magazine. I mean, you know.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to say.
You know, but that one I read about the actors, but then I go back to Vanity Fair to read about the directors, the producers, their thinking processes, and I feel really the media, this ecosystem is incomplete without us getting into your mind. You know, what is the mind of Tolu Ajayi? What influenced him?
Yeah.
What is his POV? You know, how do you build a brand? How do you guys as directors? I mean, I can remember Francis Ford Coppola, but he's not my brother. He's not the guy next door to me. I want to remember the people that are directors in my own environment as well. and say, okay, Tolu is known for this kind of film. This other person is known for this kind of film, and that kind of. How do you get about? And I feel comfortable asking you this because I know you know what the business of brand building is. So how do you build a brand?
Yes.
This business as a director, as a producer, as an actor?
Yes. So, yeah, thank you. I was when you said that you agreed, I disagreed. I was going to say to you what I tell agencies, when I train young people, I said to them, agencies now need to become brands. That's what I was actually doing. That agencies need to become brands. They need to know you for whatever it is you're ideating. Because we're not the channel anymore, they're bigger channels. Now, when I became a director, one of the things I wanted to do, I had a very simple idea. I called one of my friends who was doing a documentary of Nigerian filmmakers. He asked me I said I wanted to be in the vocabulary for Nollywood. I wanted to be like, so you can't talk about films without talking about one of my movies. It was a very simple goal at that time. Like, yeah, because I wanted to actually have a defined system of films where you just pay a little bit more attention. Then as I got into the game, I realized that show business means you have to show. The films define you. You also have to have some presence in these spaces. And I'm not even completely successful because I'm still not entirely playing the game. If you want to play the game, it's a blitzkrieg. You're storming the beaches of Normandy. And you're there, you're on social media, you're taking pictures, you're doing all that. And I think I'm the old man on the lawn right now. So I'm not playing it that way. I want to make very meaningful things. So the stages of it will be the first level, like we learned in the law marks. The first is just to be known for what you do. Many people are not even known for what they do. There are many people working that people can't even say, oh, this person, they should say Tolu Ajayi, the director, right? Oh, Tolu, you know. So when I started to direct more, I started hearing stuff like, now, you know. So that was a bit like, oh, you're directing, you know. As if it was a job that when I actually started doing things, you're directing, you know. Then you now go from that to being a good director.
Mm-hmm.
Just and the next level is, oh, yeah, there's something about his work, you know, and people classify as good. Then you now become, oh, I'm a fan of. I want to be. You go from that to now be something that people, oh, Tolu, brought to you by Tolu Ajayi. You have to see it because this guy has a track record. Then you become the ultimate level is you're just batting 100 and everything. As a brand yourself, you also, beyond your skill set, people like you. They're behind you. They see the way you interact. This is when you now start to put some of your pursuits. If for instance, if you do go down the path of you have an NGO, you are funding the saving of dogs from the streets,
or something.
you're giving out, you're giving back to the community, you're doing a lot of other things. Now your brand becomes stronger. Not only is it great at the skill set he does, and he makes me cry every time he does a movie, he's also this human being outside that. And then of course, before we even get to that point, when they see you on the red carpet, there's a certain is the word savoir-faire. There's a certain way that people oh yeah, he dresses well. So they now have an optic. The optics match the skill set. I don't know. You know, there's the optics. Then there's also the emotional feeling they have about you. So what you often see sometimes is people who have a great skill set start put their families on social media because that replaces the NGO thing. Oh, you're such a caring dad, or such a loving husband, or a loving boyfriend, or you know, that emotional side that completes the skill set for them. That's not a part of the journey that I'm necessarily on.
Well, I think it's a bit intrusive, personally. I mean, I don't think I need to know all that to enjoy a movie. But I mean, we live in a reality TV world. I blame the Kardashians.
Yeah. But it's a part of the branding. Me personally, the journey I've taken is I always want to really make more about the work. I see no reason to engage my family, but there's something else I also kind of miss about the branding thing. I often tell when I'm doing this class, when I'm training, I often tell people, I'm like, because like people ask me about branding or creative branding, and I said if you need to raise 2 million or 1 million naira for your film or for a camera, how many people in your family know you enough or seen your work enough to drop 200K? And that's always the aha moment, because you have to brand yourself. Like, can uncle say, "Oh man, this guy is so good at what he does. I'm going to invest in this upcoming brand." So if you're at this level now as a filmmaker, and people know by the way you wake up in the morning, you're showing people on Instagram. If you're on Instagram a lot or on Facebook, and people say every day you get up to go and be the best you can be on set, right? And you're giving them news of that. They're saying, "Oh, today was a great day, had a great set, da 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 da." People will know, okay, yeah, he's a filmmaker. Oh, this is the trailer of the film. After you've done all the every day in the life, this is the trailer of the film. Like, this guy is not bad. Then an uncle says, "I saw your behind the scenes. I saw what you did. Not bad, not bad, not bad." Now you know the branding within your small ecosystem, your small tribe can take you somewhere. If they are sampling the soup and they like it, right? They are ready to export this stuff to the next level.
So word of mouth.
Starts from the small circles.
Yes. I think for many of us, we want to go from 0 to, it's not even 60 anymore, 0 to 100,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a I think it's Raphael Sadiq, is an African American singer, musician. Yeah, he had
I know. I got it from you.
That's a song called "Instant Vintage," and that title always intrigued me. Like,
it's a contradiction.
Like immediately, and it doesn't happen that way. When I tell people you build a brand, you have to have a body of work. Yeah, I was thinking about Spike Lee when you were talking about the producers, and Spike Lee has grown. He's grown. You can see the body of it. You can track it. You can write something about him.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe it's because I studied literature and I have that academic.
No. You're very right. Just a couple of days ago.
I love reading about people. I don't want to know whether you like to eat a going or afam. That's really not my interest. But I guess I'm in the minority here. But what's important to me is to know, how have you grown? Where did you fall? How did you learn from falling? Because everybody has massive flops, and some of us,
of course,
we flop. They call them bloopers, but we flop spectacularly in the public eye, and you have to pick yourself up again and swim upstream. I think for me, a lot of what you guys do as directors, especially when you're going against the grain, is extremely courageous. To swim upstream is not easy. It's not easy at all.
If I may add to that, when you talk about Spike Lee, I just read an article on him. I was on Twitter and I saw a thread on him. People have started watching the films that they consider as flops now. And it's like his films were made for the future. The films he made then, there's one movie he made, which was like a mockumentary on racial classes. When people watch it today, it's appropriate. So it's like he made the films lived longer than the films they're calling his flops, because I think he turned 60 something now. A couple of days ago,
he should be in the 60s.
Yeah, a couple of days ago was his birthday, and people started watching his movies again. And the critic that I was talking about the movie was holding the movie up against the films of today and how poignant the film was in talking about those things today. And I was surprised. And you're right about swimming up against as a film we made that time, though, I think it was Girl 6. I know you might not remember that one because
Yeah,
it was in the 90s. Yeah. So, Girl 6 is amazing. It was considered not so great then. Now people are watching and going, oh, Girl 6 is amazing. You should go watch it. I see people, and it's not because there is fans. These are critics saying that Girl 6 is definitely much more watchable now than the time it came out. And when you talk about streaming up against the stream, you're tapping into something just zeitgeist, but I don't know what the future geist will be. Whatever geist is in the future ghost that you're catching up with. So yes.
That's an interesting commentary. I mean, because I also see the creative mind as a visionary, as how would I call it? Those people who see the future. Yeah. Yeah, what did you call them? Yeah.
Well, science, I don't know.
The prescience, yeah, the prescience, yeah. There's a lot of prescience where it takes a lot of courage to make those movies when you know that you could be making something that will make people just laugh. You know, it takes a lot of courage, and courage is the word I mean, when we started this conversation, I wouldn't have put courage and creativity together, but I am totally, utterly convinced that building a brand takes courage. It takes longevity to stay on as long as. I mean, if there's a movie that has Richard Mofe-Damijo, I'm on it. I'm watching it. I'm going to watch it. Yeah.
The man is well maintained. He's a well maintained boss. He's a very well maintained boss.
He has built a brand. You know, even if he had the pot belly, like I would watch it. Even if was it Idris Elba had a pot belly, I'd watch it because I expect something is going to happen. Even when what's his name, Denzel, you know,
I'd love to see them together.
Sorry?
I'd love to see Idris Elba. I'd love to see Idris Elba and Richard Mofe-Damijo sharing the film.
Oh man, with the spice of Denzel. With the spice of Denzel.
Yeah. Uncle Denzel is Uncle Denzel. The two of them are sort of in the same. Uncle Denzel is sort of. You know,
no, but see, Denzel became menacing with Training Day.
The Training Day, yeah.
It changed my mind totally. I mean, he was no longer Mr. Nice Guy. Then Equalizer. I mean, that got me. That really got me.
That's my favorite. It's my all-time favorite. I enjoy watching. I can watch that film. I watch it again and again and again. You know, sometimes a film can speak to you and it can call you, and you might have plans, and the film is sort of takes you to where you want to go. That's a very different conversation too, where we talk about being brave and courageous. To be honest with you, I've done some things. It's like I've skydived before, and jumping into certain projects. It's the same feeling. You're like, let's just go for it. Let's see what happens. Then you try your best not to hurt yourself by hiring your friends that you know are talented.
And having a parachute.
I'm not going to do this project. Yeah. They're your best parachutes. Like, you know what? If you don't, you know, you know the areas are going to have problems. You know, especially in Nigeria. Like, you know what? If I have 3 of this out of, say, 4 of this, I have a good chance of this story getting through to people, and there are no distractions. Because the distractions would be the parts where you don't perform well. And now it's going to be on one part there's either not enough money for, not enough talent for, or you just didn't know what you're doing. And that's on the director. Yeah.
So, as a roundup, the business part of the show business that you are in.
Business. Yeah.
The business part. How do you take care of business? How do you TCB? Yeah. What does it involve? What is involved in taking care of business in the movie business? Yeah.
Okay. As a director, you need to, the first thing you must have is the networking skills have to be great. You know, so the networking essentially means and people are making decisions for the right projects, which is a function of the branding, or you are getting money, you have money that enables you to make the kind of films you want. And the people that, oh, Sajai, what are you doing this year? And you have a slate. So the business of it is, if you're a director that has his own production company, you must have what is known as a slate. And the slate is this is what I want to shoot. What can you fund? Otherwise, you're on other people's slates. And that will still put money in your pocket, but you're working for other people. The second thing you need to have is, once you're on the slate, or you have your own slate on your slate, is a tribe. You need to have a very good tribe. You need to have people who are batting for you. And your tribe must now include today, in these days, great legal advocacy. You must have a great lawyer who can read contracts and say, this is not good for you. I've fallen into a couple of bear traps myself, so I know. So you must have great legal advocates. You must have a team of people who will literally want to die for you on your project. Not die, they'll throw themselves into the project, and you are carrying them up.
They believe it.
Yeah, and they're ready to also drop other people's projects to come work on a project. But you have to also be fair by ensuring that you are telling them, when you have your slate or you're someone's slate, that I want you to come do this with me 6 months, 3 months ahead of time. So they're actively clearing out their own schedule to work for you. They must be loyal to you, but you must be very, very loyal to them across the board. I think the third part of it is your partners, make sure that you're always delivering value. Make sure you always come delivering value. And when you earn the money, as much as possible, I don't know how this is good business. When you earn the money, find a way to put the money back into your own continual education or promotion. Directing is directing is the equivalent of building sandcastles near the sea. You're forgotten, you're as good as whatever, and you are being replaced actively. I'm very fortunate to be at my old age and to be considered for any project, because there's so many young kids that I would even give work to.
Yeah, but Tolu, I mean, let's talk about Francis Ford Coppola, although Sofia Coppola is also, but nobody looked at him. Sorry?
He's retired. Mama is not coming back.
I know he's not coming back, but he didn't leave when he was young. You understand?
Yes.
Yeah. They did this epic, and that is what I'm looking at. I mean, RMD is not a spring chicken, but he is somebody who you put on those films, okay, starring RMD or whatever, you want to watch it. He's built a brand, and I think that's part of the business. I guess standing for something, standing for excellence, it seems like such a catchphrase, but standing for something that every time you come out, you deliver. Whether I've watched him in a comedy, I've watched him on stage, I've watched him in a TV series, I've watched him on film, and whatever the character is, he embodies it, you know.
Well, I'll say for directing, because we're not seen, we're behind the camera. The replacement. So when you talk about, you said Spike Lee. I'm not saying that it's not likely that you can be making Woody Allen, if you didn't have these issues, we'll still be making films, maybe periodically, because the man likes to make movies. Spike Lee will continually give us stuff. I don't think the pot ever runs dry of ideas or ideation. Spielberg shot his first music video last year. He's never shot a music video, and he shot one on an iPhone, and it was a very big deal. His first music video, in his. So we would always be amazed by what these people are able to do. But it's a very competitive field, because execution of it is physical, super competitive. And you're absolutely right on your branding and delivering on when you always deliver on an emotional experience for the audience, they will never forget you. Your name will always mean something to the experience they're expecting. So Yeah. Yes, and just always ensure that you always keep money back to give back into the to put back into your ecosystem. Um, again, fertilize your mind. It's
Yeah.
also part of the business. The mind is the most
Stay
important.
young. Stay young.
Fertilize,
Yeah.
always, film festivals. Participate. I think show business that invests also in the business of it all. Uh, I would say a successful male director that exists is Kunle Afolayan, and I think he's successful because he still keeps having a lot of work. And the one thing about him is um, he's in front of a lot of conversations because before your film comes out, there's a lot of boardroom conversations of in the place of selection. Whose slate do we want to see? And you need to invest in ensuring that you are in the conversations for the kind of work you want to get, not the work that this person couldn't make it. This guy is good, but let's get him. So that was what I would say about the business of it. So update your reels, send it out, network with the right people, make friends. I think the most important thing I also remember is develop mentors and make friends because you are going to meet patrons, people that have a lot of money and they're invested in seeing a Francis Ford Coppola film. Like, you know what? I haven't seen a Tolu Ajayi film in a minute. What would it take for Tolu Ajayi film? 200 million? Yeah,
You can do it. Yeah.
You can do it. And so, yeah, you must kind of find a patron, someone or an institution or a person. In Nigeria, sometimes it's a person. Someone that believes in what you're going to do next and wants to be a part of that journey, to the red carpet with you, supporting you in that space. So that's aspect of it. Until you build a financial ecosystem yourself that it's able to trade and make its own money and put back and make its own money and have another slate for another year. And that's how the business. So of course, then there come commercials, brand appearances, you endorsing a camera, you endorsing having some of your own merch. If you are so well known, you endorse your own merch. And another way of it is starting an academic institution where people or you're also paid to come and show people your style of filmmaking at a very what do you call it, professor emeritus or something.
Yes, emeritus level. Yeah.
And then you're paid a lot of money to come and teach students about your art. That's another way of business. Often it's more like retirement, but if you're actively still in it, you'll be endorsing filmmaker products, endorsing filmmaker things, and teaching or owning your own institution. I'll imagine Ebony Life Academy is less NGO and more an institution where there's money being made actually, because I know Lagos State is funding it. So people actually
it's business. Business.
It's business. Yeah. Yeah.
You have to have.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to have
Yeah.
that.
So these are the multiple ways I believe the business is useful. I haven't covered it all, but I do believe that these are the clear ways. And of course, just people wanted to see what you're doing and they pay for it, and that's how you do it. And hopefully, if you make a film, the most important thing is to make something that lasts for so long. The residuals on it can send your children to school. So you make something that's so amazing. You own the content, and every time people want to see it, the residuals, and that's part of having very good legal.
Good legal, yeah.
Residuals can send your grandkids to college, or buy them.
Or get you on a cruise.
Or get you on a cruise. George Lucas made Star Wars.
Yeah. And it's still going on.
Yeah,
Stanley made the Marvel.
And that's taking care of his children. That's a daughter, I think. She's still getting money from those characters that he created. So there's that. Make something so powerful that it outlives you, and is able to take care of the generations that come.
So you have to be a visionary. For you to have longevity, you have to be a visionary, and you have to have that courage to follow, to follow your vision. You have to have that courage to follow your vision and do a few commercial things because you have to put food on the table. You know, nobody's going to give you a free pass just because you're a filmmaker. You know.
Have you seen Ridley Scott's? He made some stuff for, is it Hennessy or is it Cognac? And he made this incredible short films because he's well known as a science fiction director. So he made these science fiction commercials. They were like films, actually films, very long form. And every element that's in the whiskey and the brandy comes from a different planet. And he built these worlds of giants, exploding meteors that are all in the brandy. It is fantastic. It's really, I mean, I'm a fan of it. It's mind blowing. And he did this 80 something. I think he's 84 now. It's like 84 years old. And he's still doing these things. So, yeah, it's a long and there are many ways to do the business.
Well, guys, we've had part 1 and part 2. And if we go on this way, I'm sure we're going to have a part 3. But, you know, very, very clearly, we cannot get to the end of the. It's an ongoing conversation, let me put it that way, because the industry itself is growing, it's evolving as we go along. But Tolu, just to round up, finally, I know you've said finally several times.
That's okay, sorry.
But the final, somebody coming new into this ecosystem, the film business, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to somebody who is coming into the film business as a newbie?
Okay. I would always come from my point of view, and my point of view from it would be, before you become a filmmaker, learn visual literacy. It's going to help you. I think you mentioned a big word about courage, because filmmaking requires courage. But educate yourself before you become a director. Educate yourself on visual literacy. It's very important. I was an art. I used to draw, and knowing how things fit in a frame matters. The constrict of a frame. I did photography at big time. I also was helped to admire things like old films, vintage, so I just had so much to work with, even though I didn't want to be a director at the issue, So that's get your visual literacy up. 2, be courageous about your ideas, because even though it's more accepted now to be a creative person, going to bat for what the stuff you believe in requires a lot of courage. Try to make what you believe in courage, because people tell you Nigeria doesn't need this. Nigeria, why are we making this kind of films? This is what works. How do you know what you're making works? And the last thing is, I think, I'll say the last one. Well, the kids already do that. Talk about yourself. I'm not sure this is any advice. Talk about what you're doing. Show people what you're doing. Make sure people know what you do. The last thing too is also find a way to mentally ground it. That is a very important one. Find a way to mentally ground yourself. Whether you have a good family, because it's a very, I don't want to go dark, but it's a place where you can be consumed. And it's not a warning. If your film flops, things can change for you. Creativity is a place where when you are succeeding, you are soaring. It's very, the flight of Icarus. You're soaring and you're soaring and you're soaring, and it's very heavy. But one failure, or you fail yourself, you will never want to get on that bike again. And you're going to need encouragers, you're going to need people that will tend to you, because mentally it's a very tough place to be. Because you've spent a lot of time building this world, incubating this idea, and executing it to the best of your abilities. when you crash, because you will crash, people crash, the ability to get up again doesn't just require courage, it requires healing. So make sure you have the place where you can heal. And from time to time, even if you are succeeding, have give yourself time to heal, to refresh. Create moments. Okay, I don't want to make anything for the next 1 month, 2 months. Let me go be a person. Let me not go on this next exhibition in the jungle filming. Many of the times I'm away from home, sometimes 4 weeks, sometimes 2 weeks. So it's sort of important to have an ecosystem and people around you that will be there to support you. You need support. Otherwise, other things will come into it. To be honest, I know why a lot of Nigerian musicians are straying to performance enhancing substances.
Substances, yeah.
Yeah, performance enhancing substances. I know why they do it. It's very important that they feel a sense of they want to recover something, they want to be inspired. They don't know how, they're afraid to face the challenge, but they're not prepared for the challenge. And they need to be in a specific zone to attain the success of the last time or to cope with the failure of the last time. And that's when the unhealthy aspects of the industry go. So yeah, I think to add to courage, also confidence. Imposter syndrome is something I suffered from that for a long time. And I was like, this is you. This is how you're going to do something. You know, not feeling like you're this person enough, that person enough. In the early days, I used to always go like, this job is not good, I'll never work in this industry again. People are going to think I'm a fraud. I used to have that mental conversation when I first started directing. That I was like, and I started to stop listening to that voice. Focus on telling the
that
story.
voice never goes away, I tell you.
Yeah. Just tell the story. Just face it.
Yeah. It's I think it's the same for all entrepreneurs. What you're saying here, I believe would be useful to any one of us. You know, educate yourself, know the business that you're in, be courageous about your ideas, because sometimes you're going to swim upstream, you know. So make what you believe in. If you're following somebody else's footsteps, I mean, you don't know what new dance step they're going to come up with next. Oh yeah. You know, so talk about yourself as much. I mean, it's show business, so you need to show. You know, you need to show.
You need to always show for the business.
Yes.
Yeah, always.
Yes. Show up, network, mentally ground yourself, be confident, be courageous. And I think that doesn't quite take away the imposter syndrome, but it does help. You know, sometimes when we go through on our courage tank, we need people who boost us. So yeah, have the tribe, have the people who will come back and tell you, hey, let's go again. Okay, last time wasn't too good, but you know, let's go again. You've gotten it in you. But Tolu, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. This has been an epic, you know.
It's a great conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It has been an epic, long time coming. I know we started talking about this about 3 or 4 years ago, you know, but we still do that training, that in-person training, because that was our original plan. Yeah.
Anytime you want to have me, yes, I'm working myself towards that. A couple of institutions. So I'll be doing a lot more of that this year, of talking and just trying to get as many people on board this idea of the vision of the change we want to see.
Yes.
You know, and diverse creative minds from different spaces, all creating something. So you don't have monolithic stereotypes, and you have people just trying their best at it and giving the audience as many flavors.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want the flavors. We want the flavors of film. So guys, you can look up Tolu Ajayi and see some of his work. Tolu Olamide, right?
Yeah, Tolu Ajayi on YouTube.
Tolu Olamide Ajayi. You can look him up on YouTube because there's some other Tolu Ajayis, but his is Tolu Olamide Ajayi. And then also you can check his filmography at www.tolulopeajayi.com. We will post it, and you look for him. Please look for him and follow him and follow us. And this actually brings an end to our season 4 of Unplugged. You know, I couldn't think of a better way to end the season. We're going to go on a short break, you know, and in between we'll come in and still talk to you and probably do some reruns. It's always very good to refresh. We've got some amazing guests. Like I always say, I think I have the best job in the world. You know, I talk to people. I don't know what's going to come out of it because we don't rehearse. It's called Unplugged, so we don't rehearse, you know. And on Sundays, remember, we have brand dates, Sundays at 4 p.m. So we'll still show up, and we're going to have our Julia Jacks Consulting, JJC International Women's Day special next week, Wednesday. Just follow us and you'll get more details. It's a free webinar. Okay. But Tolu, that was me doing my advertising.
always.
Thank you very much.
Remember to share and subscribe.
Sorry? What did you say?
Remember to share and subscribe.
Oh, remember to share and subscribe. Yeah.
Yes,
I like to say hit the little bell so you get the notifications.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yes. Thank you very much, Tolu, and thank you to everybody who stayed with us now. And we'll be back towards the end of May or maybe April. Let's see how it goes. You know.
So, thank you.
Take care. Thank you, Tolu. Bye-bye.